Hi. I did that for two reasons. First of all, I wanted to give you a good visual first impression. But the main reason I did it is that that's what happens to me when I'm forced to wear a Lady Gaga skanky mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I have devoted the past 25 years of my life to designing books. Soon, it had occurred to me what my job was. My job was to ask this question. Because that is what Knopf is. It is the story factory, one of the very best in the world. We bring stories to the public. The stories can be anything, and some of them are actually true. But they all have one thing in common. They all need to look like something. They all need a face. Why? To give you a first impression of what you are about to get into. A book designer gives form to content, but also manages a very careful balance between the two. Now, the first day of my graphic design training at Penn State University, the teacher, Lanny Samis, came into the room and he drew a picture of an apple on the blackboard and wrote the word apple underneath. And he said, "Okay, lesson one, listen up." And he covered up the picture and he said, "You either say this," and then he covered up the word, "or you show this. But you don't do this. Because this is treating your audience like a moron." Now, what is the story here? Someone is re-engineering dinosaurs by extracting their DNA from prehistoric amber. Genius! Now, luckily for me, I live and work in New York City, where there are plenty of dinosaurs. So, I went to the Museum of Natural History, and I checked out the bones, and I went to the gift shop, and I bought a book. And I was particularly taken with this page of the book. And more specifically, the lower right-hand corner. Now, I took this diagram, and I put it in a photostat machine. And I took a piece of tracing paper, and I taped it over the photostat with a piece of Scotch tape. Stop me if I'm going too fast. And then I took a Rapidiograph pen, explain it to the youngsters. And I just started to reconstitute the dinosaur. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea where I was going. But at some point, I stopped when to keep going would seem like I was going too far. And what I ended up with was a graphic representation of us seeing this animal coming into being. We are in the middle of the process. And then I just threw some typography on it. Very basic stuff, slightly suggestive of public park signage. And the last story I'm going to talk about is quite a story. A woman named Aomami in 1984 Japan finds herself negotiating down a spiral staircase off an elevated highway. When she gets to the bottom, she can't help but feel that all of a sudden she's entered a new reality that's just slightly different than the one that she left, but very similar, but different. And so we're talking about parallel planes of existence, sort of like a book jacket and the book that it covers. So how do we show this? We go back to Hepburn and Dietrich, but now we merge them. So we're talking about different planes, different pieces of paper. So this is on a semi-transparent piece of vellum. It's one part of the form and content. When it's on top of the paperboard, which is the opposite, it forms this. So even if you don't know anything about this book, you are forced to consider a single person straddling two planes of existence. This debuted at #2 on the New York Times bestseller list. This is unheard of, both for us, the publisher, and the author. We're talking a 900-page book that is as weird as it is compelling, and featuring a climactic scene in which a horde of tiny people emerge from the mouth of a sleeping girl and cause a German shepherd to explode. Not exactly Jackie Collins.